Hello, everybody. Welcome to All Villa No Filler, a podcast all about Aston Villa, the world's greatest football team. Just on my lunch break, so I thought I'd do a very quick Aston Villa update. I've gone from speaking about the tech industry all morning to now talking about Aston Villa, which is more interesting. Well, not the best news to start the day off, is it? Youri Tielemans. Never have I wanted to be more wrong about anything in my life, but I did say the other day when I saw Tielemans, the way he reacted to his ankle injury, it twisted in a very nasty way after a tackle from Lewis Miley that came through the back of him. He was in a lot of pain at first. He limped into position then after a while, and then he went off the pitch. And it suddenly seemed to calm down a little bit, and it looked like he was almost tempted to come back on. Exactly the same pathway I followed when I did my ankle ligaments 3-4 years ago now. Went off, thought I couldn't walk, and then slowly it started to get better. Went back on for a little bit and then was like, not right. Woke up the next day and it had swollen up, which is exactly what I assume has happened to Youri Tielemans. Looks like Youri's going to be out now for longer than John McGinn, who is out for 6 weeks, as exclusively revealed by Jacob Tanswell in The Athletic at the weekend. So you would assume that Tielemans, I mean, if I think about what happened with me, it could be a very different grade of sprain or whatever it is that he's done with his ankle. If I think of what happened with me, I was out for about 2 months. And obviously I didn't do the right care with it because to this day, 3 or 4 years later, I have pretty horrible problems with it. And anytime I play football now and a ball hits me in the ankle, I just end up limping. So you have to take, it's an injury you have to take real care of. And obviously him being a professional footballer, obviously he'll get the best help to do that. But yeah, I think it was about 2 months I was gone. So if I was to just go off the back of what happened with me, that's what I would assume. They're going to do a second scan, see whether it's, as serious as they first feared and therefore longer than the 6 weeks that McGinn is out for. But look, firstly, I will just say on it, if you watch this podcast regularly enough or you listen to it, you'll know that I have repeated for a long, long time that I have a real problem with the higher bar for yellow cards because it's encouraging increasingly physical football. It's increasing more and more fouls. Referees don't want to give yellow cards in the first 10, 15 minutes, seemingly. And they also don't want to give out second yellow cards. They're very reluctant to do it. I've reeled off a whole bunch of names recently of second yellow cards that they've gotten away with it. Sam Morsey, Ipswich, Marcus Rashford for United, Edson Alvarez for West Ham, Bruno Guimaraes for Newcastle last season. Shock horror Newcastle involved with that, given the style of physical football that they play. Philippe Caicedo this season at Chelsea, Mikel Moreno at Arsenal, Paulinho for Tottenham, James Garner for Everton the other week, and now this. Kamara wasn't a yellow card because it was early in the game. It was a minute after a high boot from Xavi Simons on Matty Cash, which should have been a booking as well. And what happened to Youri Tielemans wasn't even given as a foul, even though Lewis Miley went through the back of him. I think that there isn't I think PGMOL, it's not a conspiracy, but I think they're being told by up on high there, whoever runs PGMOL is Howard Webb, whoever. I think they're told to let the game flow. And obviously, people want to see that. But the problem is, it's encouraging more and more physical football. And if we're going to go regress back to a style that you kick the most skillful players out of the game, well, it leads to injuries like what happened to Marco van Basten, and he had to retire at the age of 28 because people kept tackling through the back of him, and he went out because he left football early because of ankle injuries. And if that's what we want to go back to, it will be a regression, and it will encourage teams to become more direct, more physical. And what we've seen with Unai Emery's football has been absolutely the best football I've ever seen in my life. Aston Villa, it will go back to a style that just isn't really much fun to watch. Just long ball, kick you long, and it won't be good for English football as a whole in the long term because most skillful players will go elsewhere while they get better protection. But yeah, that's just something, I just felt I had to get off my chest. But look, now that he's injured, the music has stopped. It's like in the amazing film Margin Call, when the CEO looks out and knows that financial crisis is happening. Well, what are we going to do about it? We don't just sit and mope and moan and, let's look at the squad. Well, it looks like Douglas Luiz, that's been reported on last night by Fabrizio Romano. He's also added to the noise again this morning. Various reports across the media this morning again that Villa are, the talks aren't official yet with Juventus, but there's clearly things happening. And I dare to say that I think Douglas Luiz is going to be an Aston Villa player very soon. If you remove, Kamara's already out, so I've taken him out. If you remove Tielemans and McGinn for the medium term, I would say probably we're looking into mid-March. This is Villa's midfield. Barkley's back in training on Friday, so let's dare to add Barkley back into that centre, and let's say Douglas Luiz joins. That's the centre area. It's Lamar Bogard, it's Amadou Onana, Ross Barkley, George Hemmings, and Douglas Luiz. Now, I think the way to look at football nowadays, I said it last night on the live stream, is 60-30. Don't think of footballers as 90-minute players anymore. Very few players really are 90-minute players. Morgan Rogers is an example of a 90-minute player, and I would say Ezri Konsa is an example of it. But by and large, a lot of players now are 60, 70-minute players or 30-minute, 25-minute players. And I'd say Ollie Watkins and Tammy Abraham are going to be that when Tammy Abraham, touch wood, officially joins. He still hasn't, Aston Villa haven't confirmed that yet. But that'll be great for Ollie Watkins. It's why I wanted to see Conor Gallagher come in to help balance up the minutes with John McGinn. Now he's getting into his 30s. Lo and behold, he goes and gets a bloody injury a week after me saying that. And then now, look, that centre midfield area, it's not at its strongest. But Douglas Luiz, like Leon Bailey coming back for Aston Villa at the weekend, it is a plug-in and play player. Somebody who knows exactly what we need. I said it last night that, look, yes, it's not a great sign that Douglas Luiz hasn't played loads of football in the last 2 years. Yes, it's not a great sign that he hasn't really established himself at Forest or at Juventus. But the caveat I would have to that is that it's been a debacle at Nottingham Forest. So Nuno Espirito Santo sacked within 2 or 3 games. Ange comes in, a complete disaster, loses 7 games in a row. And then Sean Dyche comes in and he's playing a style of football where the centre midfielders, the ball goes over their head a lot because it's very direct. If they get the ball, they're not required to play in the style that Douglas Luiz was asked to play at Aston Villa, which is come and take the ball from deep, be confident on the ball, look for link-up play with your strikers, look for the fullbacks, even go back. But basically, the main thing is retain the ball. That's not what he's going to be required to do in centre midfield for Sean Dyche. So him coming back into Aston Villa, I dare say it'll be something that could be liberating for him. Yes, if he does come in, it's going to take probably a few weeks for him to get back up to speed. But what we do know is he's not a player who's tended to get too many injuries in the past. And his last season at Villa, 2 years ago now, his numbers were excellent. 9 goals and 6 assists in 35 games in the Premier League, plus more games in the Conference League and assists in that as well. It makes a lot of sense for Villa to do it. And he can also balance up the minutes with Onana because he can play in that CDM role. If he has to, though, you would think that Bogard and Onana will be the ones who balance up the minutes. And again, touch wood that Onana gets through this, all the way through to mid-March without an injury. It'd probably be a bit more Ross Barkley and Douglas Luiz balancing those minutes. You would think 30, 60. And also Douglas Luiz can go into that number 10 role as well. And then once Tielemans is back, hopefully this season, hopefully sometime in March, then, Luiz and Tielemans will be able to balance up the minutes together as well. And I dare say it's an opportunity for George Hemmings. Don't forget that Hemmings has looked very, very good. Yes, it's a big ask for him, for a club that's pushing to win things this season dare I say, aim to finish top 3 in the Premier League. It's a big ask for him to come in and be to the required standard. But what we've seen so far is he's very confident. His spatial awareness is exceptional. His first touch is very good. It could be the making of him the next few weeks. It could be. You've got to try and find some positives in this, and that's it. And as well, it's worth remembering that Youri Tielemans has already missed a big spate of this season. I think he was out borderline for 2 months. A spell in which Aston Villa got their act together, went on a big winning run, and we seem to do okay without him. So Aston Villa are going to have to do the same again. Yes, it's very tough without Kamara, Tielemans, and McGinn. I mean, that is brutal. Not many teams in the Premier League would be able to cope with that. But Unai Emery has shown in the past that he's a manager who can work in difficult circumstances and find a way. As Jeff Goldblum says in Jurassic Park, life finds a way. And yes, it's going to be Onana and Bogard are going to have to get through this period now. And again, it could also help Bogard substantially because he'll get more minutes and take on more responsibility. George Hemmings will get more opportunities. Ross Barkley will come in and look, it's not been great for Barkley in the last 12 months where he's been out for sustained periods. But when he has played, he's done very well. And I think having Barkley there, if he can stay fit right through to March at minimum, that would be a huge boost for Aston Villa in that centre area. And like I say, it could be the rebirth of Douglas Luiz. It could be. Would you like to see another midfielder come in? Let me know. Harvey Elliott as well. Do Villa just bite the bullet and play him? I wonder if he's going to play on Thursday night against Salzburg now. Because, look, we've qualified in the top 8. Why risk more injuries when we're riding so high in the Premier League? I wonder if we're going to see Harvey Elliott on Thursday night. And if he plays well, maybe Professor Unai looks at it and goes, maybe it's time for me to work out a way to play him. I mean, Jurgen Klopp liked him. He played enough for Arne Slot last season. He starred for England at the under-21s in the summer. There's something there. I know Unai Emery probably doesn't think he's physical and versatile enough for the style of football that Unai Emery wants. But this would be the one area I do digress with the way Villa have approached Elliott. I have seen too much of Elliott in my life in the last few years, ever since he was at Fulham, to not believe that there is a real player there and to not believe that he couldn't be a really, really valuable player for Aston Villa. So we'll see. Maybe Villa just bite the bullet and pay the money and then try and sell him again in the summer. We'll see. And don't forget as well, as Duncan Kilburn says it here, great to see you, Duncan. And Arnold Lindelof pivot might be the revelation, to be fair. Absolutely. Lindelof went into that central area at the weekend against Newcastle. Lindelof has played in that central area a couple of times this season. He's been proven a fantastic signing for us, one of the signings of the season in the Premier League, given the fact that Villa had to get through from early December right through to now with Tyrone Mings and Paulo Torres both out, so no left centre-back. Lindelof went into that position as a natural right footer, and Villa won every single game, apart from when we lost to Arsenal away. So Lindelof did a tremendous job. And if he has to step into midfield, I'm sure that's something he's capable of doing and something that he will do, hopefully to a decent standard. So, look, Villa can get through this. And let's just look at the fixture. I mean, firstly, let's just look at what Jacob Tansel said about Douglas Luiz. Aston Villa is seriously considering a move to sign midfielder Douglas Luiz. No official club-to-club talks have taken place yet, but Villa are exploring a potential deal to bring the Brazilian international back to Villa Park. If I had to put a bet on, I'd say he's an Aston Villa player very, very soon. Whether that's a signing or whether it's a loan, we'll see. These are Villa's next fixtures. So this is just to bear in mind what Villa have to get through without without Tielemans, without John McGinn and Kamara. Salzburg on Thursday. We're already qualified. Yes, we want top 2. But if we don't get top 2, it's not the end of the world. But that is a game you would think that Aston Villa, even with a scratch team, should be able to get the job done. Don't take anything too lightly, but we can do it. Then Brentford at home, Bournemouth away, Brighton at home, Newcastle at home in the FA Cup. And bear in mind that there's a week-long break essentially between Brentford and Bournemouth, but Bournemouth is followed by Brighton 3 days later. Then 3 days later, we have Newcastle at home in the FA Cup. So that's a busy week. That's going to be one where Villa are going to have to work out balance in the minutes. But I dare say against Brentford, if Douglas Luiz comes in, he might just start straight away. And it could be Douglas Luiz and Onana together in that central pivot. And then 30-60 again. So maybe, we'll see how the game goes. Brentford are very physical, very direct. But Aston Villa's home form, yes, we slipped up against Everton recently, but that's a game we've got to look at and think we can win. I mean, these are all games we should look at and think we can win. It could be worse, those fixtures, is one way of looking at it. Then this is right through into March. Leeds at home, Wolves away, Chelsea at home on the 4th of March, followed by Manchester United away on the 14th of March. Now, if you look at the dates, Villa against Chelsea is on the 4th of March. United away is the 14th. So there's an international break in between that. That international break could come at a very, very good time for Villa. That could be the moment John McGinn, back in training, starts to maybe he's fit and ready to go. And then when it comes to Tielemans, we shall see with the ankle. All I'm saying is, if it's the same thing that I did, I'm not optimistic he's back by the 14th of March. Because, like I say, I'm sitting here right now, and I'm not kidding you, my ankle hurts. My ankle always has a very dull pain. I went to physio, and there's a ligament issue I've got. Basically, you have to take great care of this particular injury. And Tielemans, as a professional footballer, will get the best help he can get. And I'm fairly sure that, they won't want to risk it, that he could end up this turns into a chronic injury. So I dare say that, we've got West Ham on the 21st of March at home. That could be one to look at maybe for Tielemans. But, all I'm saying is speculative. Don't take my word as gospel. I'm not claiming to be in the know or anything like that. I'm just going off my own injury and going off the fact that, there's a second scan still to come. So we'll see. Hopefully he's fit and ready to go. Key 5 games, says Duncan Kilburn. Onana stays fit, critical now. Yep, this is a big moment for Onana, because I think Onana this season has looked like a £50 million centre midfielder. He looks comparative to some of the best centre midfielders in world football. And if he can stay fit, this is a big moment for him to put himself up further on the map and show to the world he's one of the best centre midfielders in world football, because he was absolutely fantastic against Newcastle. He's an incredibly intelligent midfielder. He's got all that physicality, those unique long legs he's got, so he can reach around and make tackles, and he's very good on the ball. So this is an opportunity now for him to step up, stay fit, and take the lead in centre midfield. I think it's a big moment for Onana, and let's just hope he can get through and be fit. Steve says every season some players injured. It's time to replace both. Sorry to say, both brilliant players, but it can't go on. It's never sort time, always long. Short time, always long. Yeah. It's tough. It's a tough one for sure. And it is quite regular, particularly with Kamara. Tielemans has been all right generally, but Kamara and Onana tend to get these injuries quite regularly. It definitely will be something in the summer that I would imagine, if we get Champions League or whatever we get, we might start looking into the market to think, is there any CDM out there who can just guarantee us that they're going to be fit all bloody season? Because playing every year, just constantly like biting your fingernails off, wondering whether players are going to be fit or not is difficult. It's hard work. So we'll see. Rooster Villa will always have massive anxiety every time Onana goes down. Good to see you, Rooster, as well. Good to see everyone here again. I think Phalange, Duncan, Dr. A.R. Lee, Fabulous Stevie are all here. Good to see you. Good to see you. It is going to be nerve-wracking. And to be honest, I've been nervous the last few weeks because I think the game volume obviously builds up, and particularly Kamara and Onana, I'm always nervous, just thinking like, what's going to happen with these two? And Tielemans has not been a player who's particularly got injured. I know he was out for a spell at the start of this season, but I was quite nervous with him as well. I just think we need another body in that centre area, because we're asking a lot of these centre midfielders now, as the game intensity ups and the pressure goes more, to get through it. But, it is what it is. It is what it is. And like I said, think of that movie Margin Call. If you've never seen it, one of the greatest movies ever. I just love it. Love that film about the financial crisis. Jeremy Irons, the CEO, looks out the window and everyone's told him disaster is here, but he looks out the window and he says, well, the music has stopped and I'm not going to wallow. What are we going to do about it? And that's it. Let's not wallow. Let's try and think about it positively. This is a brilliant Villa team. They've worked through difficult moments before. We had no left centre-back for 6 weeks recently. Got through that. We've had Kamara out for long spells in the past. We've got through that. Yes, this is really difficult, but now it's an opportunity for Onana to step up. It's an opportunity for Ross Barkley to get more game time and show himself to be a top player. Douglas Luiz to liberate himself from the terrible 2 years with poor management at Juventus and Thiago Motta. Didn't work at all. A style of football that clearly wasn't requisite for his style, the type of player he is. And then he's been a disaster club in Nottingham Forest this season. This is his time to get a breath of fresh air, come back to a place he loves, and show us what he's made of and remind us why the Villa fans loved him in the first place. It's an opportunity for Lamar Bogard to get more game time and keep on improving. And it's an opportunity for George Hemmings to get more minutes and show himself how good he can be. And you never know. You don't know until you know. And sometimes young players come in and they just have it. And George Hemmings has it when it comes to spatial awareness, his ability to take a player on, to turn into space, to charge forward. He has it. Obviously, he's not as good as he's going to be at some point in the future, but you never know. Maybe he comes in at the age of 18 and we look at it and we go, gee whiz, we have a serious player here. And, you know, Carney Chukwuemeka was a good example of that in recent times. And I dare say, looking at George Hemmings, I think he's very similar to Carney Chukwuemeka. I think he's that level of youth player. And I think I'm excited to see in the next 6 weeks, George Hemmings get more game time and just see how he does. And I would put a bet on that he does all right. Anyway, got to get back to work. Thought I'd do a quick podcast. If there's more stuff coming out today, there probably will be. I'll try and jump on later as well. But until next time, everyone, thank you, everybody, for your comments. Sorry if I didn't get to them, but please subscribe as well if you're new to this. Please click that subscribe button on YouTube. Can't thank you enough if you do that. But anyway, until next time, up the mighty Villa.